Awesome. Thank you, Kathy, for spearheading this Zoom call today for the chamber. And good morning, everyone. I'm Donna Luters and Vice Chair of the Northwest Council. And we are so excited that you guys are here today and want to immediately introduce our speaker today. And he has done, this is the third of the series that he has completed. It's Geoff Zimmerman, the founder and CEO of Navigator Personal Development. And he has been doing a phenomenal job of helping us all, be better in our businesses. So Geoff, I'm going to turn it right over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. Good seeing you all this morning. Some familiar faces, some who I don't know that I've seen on the previous session. So good morning. Happy to spend another morning with all of you. Very grateful to be able to share the information that I have. Let me get my screen share going here so we can get this on the road. All right. So everybody give me a thumbs up if you can see what I'm sharing over there. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So my topic for the quarter, they asked me if I would be willing to speak on leadership. And so since I do that on a regular basis with a variety of groups and situations, I was more than happy to jump at the chance and get in front of this great group of people. So we're again coming from John Maxwell's book, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. I'm a member of the John Maxwell team. So a lot of the things that I bring to the table come from his work, but not exclusively. Some things I develop myself and some things I pick up in some of the other things that I read, and I'll refer to those as we go through the session a little bit here today. So this is our September 28th, last of three. Again, it's been great to spend time with you. I will miss these moments here, but I will join for the fourth quarter, I'm sure. All right. There we go. So a little bit on the author in the book. For those of you who have been to the other sessions, you've already seen this, but for those who are new, again, this is John C. Maxwell's book, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. I do run a program around this. This book is 10 chapters long. Our sessions here together have only covered the first three. But the book was written by Dr. John C. Maxwell. He's written over 100 books on leadership, winner of multiple awards. And he's ranked as the #1 leadership and management expert in the world by Inc. magazine. This book, as mentioned before, was originally written in 1993. After 25 years of experience, he revised it to version 2.0 in 2018. And based on what he learned over those 25 years, he changed about 80% of the content. So, even somebody who's in a well-known leadership situation like John Maxwell learns as he goes through life, adjusts as he needs to, makes changes as things go along. So when you find yourself needing to do that, be open to it, be happy for the opportunity. Here's what we've covered so far. We talked in July about the definition of leadership being influence. At that session, we talked about how John describes the 5 levels of leadership, all the way from permission all the way up to pinnacle. Permission is where you are getting the authority from the business or from the workplace. You're depending very heavily on your position, rather. Position is depending on your title. Permission is where you build relationships with the people in your team. Production is where you're actually starting to get things done. Then you go on to the reproduction, where you're beginning to create new leaders. And finally, pinnacle is where you reach the spot where you've done such a nice job, such a good job displaying yourself as a leader that you're well known outside of your organization, maybe even outside your industry. August, we talked about priorities, right? As I said then, you will die with work in your inbox. There will never be a limit on the number of opportunities that you have. And so you have to figure out how you're going to filter those things that come your way. How are you going to decide which ones are most important? And at that last month's session, we gave you some tools and tips to sort of talk through that, help you figure those out. This time, we're talking about the foundation of leadership, which is character. So why don't we drop into there? And as usual, I like to bring a little bit of a quote to this. The foundation of leadership is character. Be not angry that you cannot make others as you wish them to be, since you cannot make yourself as you wish to be. And that was from Thomas Kempis. I think about that for a minute. Oftentimes we have things that we want to be different about ourselves. And we can't always figure out how to change what it is we want to change about ourselves. Maybe it's a habit, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's food, maybe it's something at work, maybe it's family time, whatever it is. As we'll talk about in our session today, leading ourselves is often the most important or most difficult task that we have. So I'm going to flip the script a little bit here, and I'm going to start just with an open question, something for you to think about for a minute. And I was inspired down this path by Patrick Lencioni's book, The Motive, which I just read recently. Why is it that you do what you do? I don't want you to answer out loud, but I want you to think about it. Do you want to do the work in the role that you're in, or are you just interested in the perks? Do you see leadership in a situation as an opportunity, as a way to serve, as taking on lots of responsibilities and tasks? Or are you just after the perks? Do you want the corner office, the title, the way people respect you, that sort of thing? Because if you go after things from the wrong motive, if you're not interested in actually doing the work, it can put you in a situation where you're tempted to stray away from that and you're not actually taking care of what needs to be taken care of. And that is really problematic in a leadership position, right? If you are not willing to do the work to be a leader, then the people who are in your organization will suffer from that. If you're not willing to have the difficult conversation, if you're not willing to host a great meeting, if you're not willing to do those things that are difficult, if you see leadership as an opportunity to get away from those things rather than to embrace them, you're going to create problems for yourself, your company, and more importantly, for the people that you're trying to lead. So why is it that you do what you want to do? Let's talk about the value of character, because having character is important because it helps you build trust. Think of the top 3 people that you trust. Are any of those people your coworkers? Are any of those people the leaders in your organization? If you ask the people in your organization who they trust, would you make their top 3 list? Stephen Covey wrote a book called The Speed of Trust. And in there, he talks about, how things can move more quickly when there's trust that's established in the organization. Let's talk about airport security for an example. Before September 11th, which, we just had the 20-year anniversary of. Before September 11th, you could arrive at an airport 30 minutes ahead of time, slide in through security and get all the way through. Why? Because the system had trust in the passengers, right? There was trust there. It allowed things to happen more quickly. After September 11th, that trust was broken. And so the same thing can happen inside of your organization. The quicker you can figure out how to build trust and share trust, the quicker you can get things done that you're trying to get accomplished. Some people think trust is a nice to have sort of a thing. Like, yeah, we'll get the work done. It'd be awesome if they trusted me, but I don't really need that. Not necessarily the case. In fact, if you're going to be a leader, you have to have people who trust you. More importantly, you have to trust your people. Trust is a two-way street. If you're not building it together, it's not going to work right. You can't expect people to trust you if you don't trust them to do the work. So trust is not just up to others. I thought trust could only grow slowly. Right? There's ways to get trust more quickly. One of the easiest, most efficient ways is to temporarily borrow trust from somebody else. When I came in to do these sessions, I was borrowing your trust of the North Florida Council, North St. John's Council of the Chamber of Commerce. Right? You believed in the Chamber of Commerce. You believed they were going to find quality people and who would bring interesting topics. And so I'm borrowing their trust. that maybe got you to the first meeting, right? If I didn't reciprocate, if I didn't trust the chamber, if I didn't show up and do what everyone expected me to do in a halfway decent manner, none of you would have returned for the next 2 sessions. So I'm happy to see some of you have come back. Sort of this other fallacy is that I thought a single mistake automatically destroyed trust. There's a chef, entrepreneur, restaurateur named Danny Meyer. He wrote a book called Setting the Table, The Transforming Power of Hospitality in Business. One of my favorite quotes that he uses in that book, and when I've heard him speak, is that the road to success is paved with mistakes well handled. We're human beings. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to talk about this in a little bit, but trying to hide your mistakes, trying to blame them on others rather than owning them, fixing them, and taking the opportunity to improve the situation overall. He gives a really great example of a restaurant that he was running, a big event coming in, lots of big name people. The original invite list grew larger than expected. People were crowded into this tiny little restaurant. All the wait staff was doing their best to make sure that things were going smoothly, but it was more difficult given the size of the crowd. One of the ladies was there, had this beautiful suede dress that she was wearing. And as the evening progressed, one of the wait staff accidentally got bumped by one of the guests, toppling a little vial of oil all down the suede dress. So not an inexpensive suede dress. These are high-name celebrities that are there. Danny did his best, right? He said, all right, here's how we're going to fix this. First, I'm going to go out and we're going to buy you another one of those dresses. Second, we'll get you cleaned up. Third, here's some gift certificates or free meals that you can have when you come back to my restaurant, right? Understand the situation, do what you need to fix the problem, and then figure out what you need to do to make it right and more than right for the person who was impacted by it. Let's talk about character, right? These 4 little frogs, we'll call those our 4 dimensions of character: authenticity, self-management, humility, and courage. These are the 4 areas that John talks about in this particular book as being the dimensions of character. Let's take a look at each of these one by one. Let's start with authenticity. First, as a leader, you have to be willing to let down your guard, right? As a leader, you're a human being. People know this about you, right? And so when you don't share the things that you are doing, don't share your thoughts about things with the people that you're trying to lead, they'll know that you're hiding something. They'll know that you're trying to cover up. They'll know that you're not being as authentic as they need you to be as a human being. What that does is it puts them in an uncomfortable situation. People learn from us as leaders, the examples that we set. If we make mistakes and we hide them, what example are we setting? Right? If we're trying to lead an organization or lead a team, a family even, if we're not willing to step up and own the mistakes that we make, we're setting a really poor example for us to gather the information that we need in order to make decisions about what's going on in our organization or our team or our family. Next is to be aware of your own weaknesses. And if you think about all of the gifts and the talents that were given across the whole human race, there's not one single individual who possesses all of them, right? There's some things that you're good at. There's some things that you're not so good at. And rather than try to hide all the things that you're bad at, hide the things that you have some opportunity, be open about them. It does 2 things. 1, it helps reinforce the fact that you recognize that you're a human being. And 2, it allows people who are good at and interested in those things to step up and say, I would love to take that over for you. I can help you there. Let me do that for you. Next, and this goes back to the question I asked you at the beginning, understand your motives. What is it you're trying to do? Why are you trying to do it? Are you in the role that you're in because you honestly and truly want to do the work, because you want to make the change, because you want to have that responsibility? Or do you just want the nice car, the big paycheck, the fancy clothes, whatever comes along with the job that you're doing. I guess it boils down to, give more than you get. Understand what it is that you're trying to do, what's demanded of the job that you're in. And if that's what you want to do, then do it. But if it's not what you want to do, you may want to reconsider something else. Next, recognize your strengths, right? There are things that you're going to be really good at. Don't be afraid to hide those. Don't be afraid to step up and say, I can do this really well. In some cultures, I believe it's in Japan, they say the tallest nail gets hammered down, right? So don't stand out about anything. Don't be that way, right? Step up. This is what I'm good at. This is what I can do. This is what I'm important. It's important for me to step up and take advantage of. So here's how I can use this. Balance that with what you're not so good at, your weaknesses, so that you can have people connect with you. Like gears in a machine, right? You have to have high points and low points so things can connect and get things done. Finally, acknowledge your feelings, right? You're going to have them. You're going to have emotional responses to things, and that's fine. But respect them, right? Understand, let the feeling through you, and then figure out, where did that come from? Why did I feel that way? Don't get bogged down in the fact that you do feel that way. Just let it flow through, figure out why it happened, and then move on. And then finally, admit to your mistakes. Again, we're human beings. We're going to do stuff wrong. We're going to make decisions that don't have the intended consequence. Sometimes we're even going to do it on purpose, right? Knowing full well it's the wrong thing to do, but for whatever reason, we decide to talk ourselves into doing it anyhow, and then we have to clean up the mess. But admit to your mistakes. And now finally, for real, don't hide any of these from your people. Just because you're in a leadership position, you don't have to wear this suit of armor that says that you're invincible. Right? You need to show the fact that you're a human being, that you value others, that you respect others, that you trust others. We're in this period of time right now where we have a lot of people, and I call them the Great Resignation. And a lot of people are just deciding not to work. Maybe it's because of the virus. Maybe it's because of the money that's being provided through unemployment or other resources. But for whatever reason, a lot of people are deciding to step away from the work that they were doing, which gives them an opportunity when they decide to come back to be a little pickier about what they're going to do and who they're going to do it with. So as leaders, it's important that we understand this, right? Being authentic makes a big difference when you're going to invite people back into your workplace. Whether you're in the restaurant business, the customer service business, whatever it is, there's a lot of jobs to be filled. There's a lot of people who aren't working. For some reason, things aren't matching up. And I'm willing to bet a lot of that is people are just tired of working for leaders who don't know what they're doing, who are not willing to step up into that. Let's talk a little bit about self-management. We talked about this in prioritization last month, where we were talking about the concept. There's really no such thing as time management. You can't manage time. Time just flows. Right? No matter what I do, no matter what decisions I make, the sweep of the second hand goes at the exact same speed for everybody. It's about prioritization, which essentially is about decision-making, managing your own decisions, or in short, self-management. First important step, and a lot of people miss this because we're not really taught to do it, determine what kind of person you want to be before you decide what you want to do. Oftentimes we'll find ourselves in a new position where we're trying to take on the role, take on the responsibilities, learn all the tasks because it's what we think we want to do. And in the process, we will sometimes make sacrifices about the person who we believe we want to be because we think that's what's required of the job. We think we have to cut corners. We think we have to sacrifice. I mean, if family is important to you, if that's one of the things that you value, and yet you take a job that demands so much time that you never get to spend any quality time with your family, that's a situation where you've sacrificed what you believe in, the kind of person that you want to be, in order to do something that you want to do. Next, figure out what your values are and then create guardrails to help you live by them. In the book, John gives the example of if you think of guardrails like on a highway, right? You set those in place yourself. Once you figure out what your values are, you set those guardrails in place so that you understand if you do run amok, that you've got something there. You may still crash into the guardrail from time to time, but you're not going to go careening off the cliff, right? And this comes from understanding what your values are. What are your non-negotiables, as they say? What are the things that are so important to you that you want to make sure you protect those first and then build your work and your career around them? This is a really important one. Define your guardrails before high pressure situations, and then reassess them and your performance against them after high pressure situations. There's a saying, I believe it originally came from the military, that says, in the heat of battle, we don't rise to the level of our capabilities, we fall to the level of our training. And you get in those situations where you get overwhelmed, where your lizard brain, as they call it, your amygdala, that gets triggered. Most of the time, your amygdala is just sort of sitting there, understanding, observing the world around it, paying attention for threats, but it's what triggers your fight or flight response. Now, as human beings, we have this more well-developed brain. You have a portion of it called your prefrontal cortex, right? There's not going to be a quiz on this, so you don't have to take notes. But it's a part of your brain that helps you with rational thought. Now, it can only do so many things at a time. You know, phone numbers are only 10 digits because that's usually about the number of things you can think about at any one given moment. And yet scientific research shows that on any given day, we're fed about 11 million different bits of information. If you can only think about 10 of those at a time, what's happening with the rest? Well, your habit, the rest of your brain is all taking care of those sorts of things for you. It'll bring things into the front. It'll bring up to the front of your brain to help you figure out, right, why do we need to think about this particular situation? Now, when your lizard brain, when your amygdala gets triggered, it floods your prefrontal cortex and says, listen, we're taking over here, Mac. And you sort of lose that capability for rational thought. You ever watch like Jeopardy or one of those game shows on TV where people are asking questions and you're sitting in the comfort of your living room, you know exactly what the answer is, and the person on the TV must be an idiot because they don't know. More than likely what's happening is they feel the stress of that situation. They need to get the answer right. There's money on the line. And so their amygdala feels that as a threat. It's flooded their prefrontal cortex. They can't think about what they're trying to think about. And what's usually an obvious answer goes right out the window. And here's an important one. Have a trusted friend or a colleague hold you accountable. This is a critical one. You know, you need to set your guardrails, but share them with somebody close to you, somebody who's willing to hold you accountable for them. Right? Some of our friends they're nice. They don't want to hurt our feelings. Oh, I get it. I'm a human being. We sort of fall through there, right? You need somebody willing to step up to you and say, listen, you said you were trying to do X, Y, and Z. You're not doing X, Y, and Z. Let me just point that out to you with love, right? The velvet hammer, as they call it. Let's move on now to humility. And when you work for a boss, when you work for a leader or for an organization who doesn't express this value in their character, you know it. Right? You can tell that everybody is sort of out for their own interest, right? Every man or a woman or child for themselves. The first step in humility is work for something greater than your own gain. Again, back to the question that I asked at the beginning, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you in that leadership role? Is it just for the things that you're going to get, or is it because you really want to do the work? And why do you want to do the work? What's the mission of the organization that you're working with, of the team that you're on? Or what are you trying to accomplish with your family while you're raising your adults? By the way, that's a phrase that I use. I'll talk about that at some other time. But when I'm coaching families, begin with the end in mind. You're not raising kids. They're kids now, but that's not what you're raising. You're raising adults. So that's why I use that phrase. Second, when you express humility, you recognize that your power, your greatness, whatever you have in the moment, that's coming through you, not from you. You're not the source of the power. You're not the source of the greatness. It's coming through you from somewhere else. And you recognize that rather than controlling it, it's more about stewarding that capability, about stewarding that power that you have. Next, you got to focus on changing and developing yourself. Right? How are you investing in yourself? Spending time here with me this morning is investing in yourself. I'm grateful for the opportunity to spend it with you, and I hope that you're taking something away. But changing and developing yourself, honestly, you're the only person you can change. As much as you think you're changing other people, generally you're not, right? They have to change themselves. As leaders, sometimes we can be tempted to put them into a situation, understanding what we understand about them, to force them into that decision, but it's still their decision. And finally, you have to be open and willing to learn from and partner with the great things in others. Again, if you're open about what you're good at and what you're not good at, you're setting the example for other people on your team, in your family, in your organization to do the same. To step up and say, hey, I have this untapped potential, or I'm not very good at this. I need help. I need somebody else to take this over, whatever it is. As you get that done, as you think about those opportunities, it gives you those chances to partner with other people who are willing to step in. Let's move on now to courage. Now, it can't only be me, but every time I see the word courage, the Cowardly Lion starts singing that song in my head, right? About the king of the forest. I did a live stream once where I sang that song. I can't carry a tune in a bucket with a lid on it, so it was a bit of a disaster, but I thought it was a bit of courage to go live on Facebook and start singing something I know I can't do. So I purposely chose a tiger, hoping it would distract me from the Cowardly Lion. No such luck. All right, so courage. It empowers us to do what's right in the face of fear, fatigue, and uncertainty. And I've heard it said, and I'm sure you have as well, courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is moving forward even though you have the fear, or the fatigue, or the uncertainty. You know, Martin Luther King Jr., I think, is the one who said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. That's uncertainty. You don't know what's further up. You don't know. It's like driving at night, right? You can only see so far down the road. But as long as you can see far enough that you know what your safe choices are, you continue. And fatigue, that's a big one. Right? We get tired, we get worn out. Like, I just can't do it. But having the courage to push through, to understand what it is that needs to be accomplished and what we have to do to get it done. That's where courage helps push us through. Next, courage enables us to push through on missions where we need the people to go, but we've not yet been. As a leader, you can't take people anywhere that you haven't been yourself. Now, you don't have to be all the way down the road. You just have to be a little bit further down the road than they are. But you have to go there first if you're the leader. Some of that might be the tasks that you ask them to do, but sometimes not. Sometimes as leaders, we ask people to do things that we can't do, right? Again, things we're good at, things we're not. But as far as the mission is concerned, as far as breaking new territory, as a leader, we have to be courageous in going there. Courage forces us to be brutally honest with ourselves. Again, talking about the other components of character and about the initial question, why are you doing what you're doing? You have to be brutally honest with yourself and say, listen, I've made some mistakes here. This is not where I need to be. It's not what I'm good at. Love the perks, don't like the work, whatever it is. Any job like that is honest, honesty can be like that. And courage requires us to admit our mistakes, right? So we can learn from them. In one of my jobs, I led a group of technology folks. And we had this system that we called find it, fix it, keep it from coming back. That was sort of the process that we followed, right? There were things that were going wrong with any technology, even, Zoom and other things. As a support team, that was part of what we needed to do. Go out and find whatever had gone wrong. First of all, fix the situation. And then what do we do to keep it from coming back? Sometimes we'll get in a situation where a problem is happening, and the first thing we get into is trying to figure out what went wrong. Meanwhile, the house is still burning down, and we're trying to make sure that we place blame somewhere. Blame storming, we used to call it. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. Well, if you had done this, well, if you had done the other things, well, I understand. No, get out of that. Stop the bleeding first, right? Fix the mistake. And then go back and assess in a calm, more rational manner when our lizard brain's back asleep and our prefrontal cortex wakes back up again, and we can talk about what happened, why it happened, and how do we stop it from happening in the future. A few questions to ask yourself when we talk about these things about character. Why do you think leading yourself is said to be the most difficult task in leadership? My perspective is that most of the time, 90 to 95%, some research indicates, we are operating off of habit. And so what we are paying attention to is outside of ourselves. That's why you need to take moments to think about what it is you're doing. Think about what you're good at. Think about where you're struggling. You need a trusted advisor, a good friend, a hired coach, a colleague, a mentor, somebody to really help you assess the way that you're coming across in the world. Think about this one. When you were growing up, what was emphasized more, character or appearance? Some people grow up in a household where from the outside, everything looks nice and tidy and clean and well-manicured lawn, and kids are all dressed up going to church each Sunday, and mom and dad have a decent car. But inside the household, things are not quite as nice for a myriad of reasons. But whatever it is, the inside and the outside just don't match. But as long as the neighbors, as long as the church community, as long as the school, as long as whoever it is doesn't see that there's chaos in our house, we're fine. This one's just for you. If you could instantly change one thing about yourself internally, what would it be? What would it be? What is something that you strive to do that you would like to be different about your life that just isn't? About the way you think about things, the way you treat people, the way that you make decisions about prioritizing your activities or how you spend your money or what you do with your food or your family. What are some areas there that you would like to change about yourself? I want you to think about those. And then I want you to write down for yourself an action step that you're going to take around that particular situation. Again, people tend to overestimate events, but underestimate the process. So that's why I want you to take some time, jot these questions down and think about them, take them away and work with them. That does it for this chapter on character. Like I said, we're only 3 chapters into this book. There's 7 more chapters. I do run classes that go through all 10 of these chapters. American Red Cross, I spent several sessions with them going through that for the different Florida chapters that are there. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to spend these last 3 months with you. Again, we talked about the definition of leadership being influence, key to leadership being priorities, and today, the foundation of leadership being character. We will open it up to Q&A, but before we do, I do want to share a little something with you. I hope you'll indulge me for just a couple of minutes here, because next Friday, October the 8th, I have the very great privilege to be hosting an event at the beautiful Palencia Club, where I'm bringing in some really big name speakers. We're doing a live simulcast of an event that's happening in Atlanta on that day. And so if you'll indulge me just for about 90 seconds, I'm going to talk about and let you know about Live to Lead, which is coming up next Friday.
Every one of you have a journey to take. Your first step is your most important step. You don't go up to the top. You grow up to the top.
You are one decision away from shifting your life from where it is right now to a totally different place.
So often our setbacks are setups. It's just hard to see it at the time.
What if you interrupted that pattern of thinking and simply said, what do I want? That takes your energy and focus off of the problem and begins to focus you on a solution.
Success is a series of steps, not one giant leap.
Commitment will get us to the starting line. Consistency will get you to the finish line.
You were born. You were created for your life to count.
So again, that is next Friday. I'll drop a link in the chat if you are interested in attending to get tickets through Eventbrite. We do have some group pricing available, that sort of thing as well. But I'm glad I'm on the small monitor, because that message that comes through, especially from John, his message at the end, you were born, you were created for your life to count. Well, that one hits me sort of hard. So I try to do my best to live up to that responsibility. For the Q&A, I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing so we can see one another's faces again, and open up the floor to see what questions you might have. Yes, David.
Yeah, I've read a few John Maxwell books. I have a copy of the Leadership Bible as well, which I reference now and then, but I haven't read this particular book. First 3 chapters cover the foundation of leadership. What does the rest of the book cover? What are the topics of the rest of the book?
Let me get back to the table of contents here. Excellent question.
And let me say real quick, I'm going to have to drop off about 3 minutes early today. So I don't want to be rude and just disappear. Geoff, I really appreciate everything that you've done for the council, and I really enjoy the sessions.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, David. Believing in margin, I plan to end at 5 minutes till, right? So you can have time to have a 2-function break before you get to go to your next meeting. So the other topics in the book, lesson 4, the ultimate test of leadership, creating positive change. Lesson 5, the quickest way to gain leadership is problem solving. Number 6, the extra plus in leadership is attitude. The heart of leadership is serving people. The indispensable quality of leadership is vision. The price tag of leadership is self-discipline. And the expansion of leadership is personal growth. So those are the other 7 chapters that get covered in that book.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Geoff, I have kind of a weird question because, there are so many self-help books out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of them are really, really good. And, maybe some of them not so much. But, if you read all of these books, how do you identify, or is it just, what resonates best for you as a person? Taking snippets of everything that you've read, as opposed to just trying to follow one particular author?
It really depends, right? There's one of the experiences I find interesting is I can read the same book multiple times and take away different things from it each time that I read it. Like I could read, a book and I say, I don't even remember reading that passage before, but for whatever reason, in that moment, in this reading of that book, it hits me in a different way. And it has a lot to do with our awareness. What I mean by that is, let's say you buy a brand new vehicle that you love, and all of a sudden you see that same vehicle everywhere. Right? Oh, there's another one just like mine. Oh, I see that one. And again, we're presented with 11 million bits of information every day. Only about 50 of them can we deal with through the course of the day. So it's, what are you aware of? And so that's why I read from a lot of different resources. And in the moment, the things that I bring, why I continue to return to John's work is A, I'm certified in it, so I have license to teach it. But B, and I think it was one of our first sessions, somebody asked the question, what is John's perspective on servant leadership? And for John, that's all there is, right? It goes back to the question, why are you a leader? Are you a leader because you want to do the work, because you want to serve, or because you want the perks? And if you are a leader because you want to serve and you want to own that responsibility, that is about taking that on. It's about helping people develop. And that's why he resonates with me. There's a lot of other books, a lot of other authors, as you mentioned. John's written more of them than any other human being on a planet around leadership. But he's not the only author. You're right. And so what I do is I try to read others' perspectives on things. And for me, one of the values is around that servant piece. And so if their message resonates with that, as long as it's respecting the individual, as long as it's speaking about the mission, as long as it's not trying to be manipulative, that's where I pick that up on. That's why I bring it to the table.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any thoughts, comments, or questions for Geoff?
Yes, Geoff. Where can we get the book? Is it also available as an audiobook?
You can get the book. The least expensive place that I've found it is on Amazon. You can get it as an audiobook. Now, the version that I always use, this is the workbook version. And the reason why I like the workbook version is because aside from having all of the content in it, it actually has these, like last month, I shared some of the tables and things that you can use in there where you've got everything laid out for you. So you can write in it. This is, we talked about the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule last month. So it gives you those sorts of things in there. many of the questions, especially the ones that I end with, are in there. So if you want to just listen to the content, and don't get me wrong, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. But sometimes something like this, where if I'm trying to develop a particular skill and I need tools to help me do that, that's where I appreciate having something in at least changeable form, right? Whether it's written or whether it's a fillable PDF, that sort of thing. Something where I can lay my thoughts out on paper and get through that. But yeah, either way is available. Thanks, Beat.
Thank you. I really appreciate your conferences. Great information.
And Beat turned into a robot.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. I said I really appreciate your conferences and presentations.
Thank you. Thank you for saying so.
Thank you.
I'll say real quick, I'm looking forward to the Palencia bit, Live to Lead. I've already bought my ticket, so you can count on seeing me there. Looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it too. I'm as excited to be at it as I am to host it. You have the sort of the script of this event of what's supposed to happen, but what I've observed is sometimes the speakers will go off script a little bit and share something that just really resonates. 2 years ago, one of my favorite moments happened. Marcus Buckingham was one of the speakers, and he was had this bit that he was about to share with us, and instead he set that aside and he said, "Look, I got to share what's on my heart." And he went into talking about the fact that his ex-wife was one of the people who got in trouble for buying their son's way into college. Right, there was that whole scandal going on. Mm-hmm. And what he spoke about was not only how that impacted him as a husband and as a father, but more importantly, how devastating that was for his son. Because his son believed that he had achieved this on his own, only to find out that his mom was pulling strings behind the back, and that just, it hit him really hard. So you never know what's going to happen on these events, but it's always going to be powerful.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. So, Geoff, thank you so much for your insight. Over these last few months, I personally have gotten some things to think about, and helping me grow both personally and professionally. So one of the key takeaways was, the email's always going to be there, so just put it aside. So, but thank you for your time. We sincerely appreciate that very, very much. We have a few minutes left, so I want to let everybody have an opportunity to introduce themselves, but I do want to share with you that we are planning for our October meeting to be in person. So please mark your calendar. It'll be on October the 26th from 8 to 9. We have location. I don't know what happened there, why I just went blank. Location to be determined. We'll announce that, but again, we'll be in person. So super excited about that. So with that, I am going to start the round robin introductions, and I'll begin with my friend and colleague, David Parmenter.
Thank you, Donna. My name is David Parmenter. I own Generation Media. We help businesses reach their ideal customers, whether that's the residents of World Golf Village, Palencia, Queens Harbor, Amelia Island, or new movers into certain rapidly growing areas like World Golf Village area, Nocatee, Ponte Vedra Beach, Amelia Island area. We have a new movers program, as well as a program to reach the top 500 doctors in Jacksonville and the beaches, or the top 500 real estate agents in NEFAR. David Parmenter, Generation Media. Thank you.
Excellent. Dara, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning. What a great presentation, Geoff. I'm on the tail of what you've been doing, and very thought-provoking, great stuff, a little jolting, because I know it's all there in the sense of always, there's always room to grow. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for your presentation. I'm Sarah Kerrigan. I work for the Garden Ad Litem program, and I am a volunteer recruiter and community liaison. And we work with children that are in foster care. We advocate and represent them in court.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah?
My pleasure.
I don't.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I was like trying to press mute, and then as I was like muting it, it was unmuting it. My name is Dara Sweat. I work with Mudflower Media out of Palencia Village in St. Augustine. Basically, all of your marketing needs, anything you can think of, from digital to print, trade show displays, website design, all of that jazz. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you so much again, Geoff, for that presentation. That was really, really awesome. I enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Diana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Tortolo with Trial Spectrum. Trial Spectrum does courtroom exhibits, courtroom graphics, and technology. So basically, we work with attorneys to help them develop a visual strategy for their case. Happy to be here, and thank you again, Geoff. It was a wonderful presentation.
My pleasure.
Great. Thank you. Tim.
Sorry about that. I was a little slow to the trigger. Timothy and Rains, we're a Patrick and Rains CPA firm here in Jacksonville, Florida. Full service CPA firm, going anywhere from tax compliance on up to full financial statements and audits. Got about 13 folks here. You've probably seen changes in our industry where everybody's asking, well, what can your CPA do for you? We're grateful that we were on the cutting edge of that transition from a little less compliance and a little more consulting. Every business needs a little helping hand. And we do that, we maximize that by coming to events like this too, right? You know, we all have issues in our business, and not only number crunching, but putting those numbers to good work. So thank you much.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you. Lauren.
Good morning. I'm Lauren Howington from Herbie Wiles Insurance. We are a full service agency with personal lines, commercial, life, and benefits. I'm happy to help anyone in need. Thanks, Geoff. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Beat.
Morning, Beat Stoibling. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, driving south to a conference today. My business is Nationwide Payment Services. We basically make sure that we provide solutions for credit card processing that fit the customer, that are less cost intensive than solutions out there which are old or dated. The last couple of years, we had a lot of new software coming to market, a lot of new solutions, integrated solutions that are very slick and can be integrated into QuickBooks, etc. That's what we do. Merchant services, Stable Nationwide Payment Services.
Excellent. Thank you.
Presentation. Excellent presentation. Okay.
Yes. Thanks for joining us. Drive safe. Grant, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, guys. Thanks a lot for that, Geoff. That was very insightful and got some good notes, and going to try to put some of that stuff into practice here soon. I'm Grant Spear with St. John's Chiropractic and Performance. Just joined the chamber earlier this month. We've been in business for about 2.5 months now. We're located in St. John's, just north of County Road 210 and south of Racetrack Road, right off of St. John's Parkway. So we're here to try to get our patients out of pain as quickly as possible, and then to try to rehab them and gain mobility, strength, whatever they need to then try to keep them out of pain. So look forward to meeting some of the members at a couple events that we've been to, and looking forward to getting more involved. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you. Andrea.
Good morning. Sorry, I don't have video. I'm at work, so I can't show it right now. But I am Andrea Knight. I'm with Haven Hospice. I am honored to be a part of the North Business Council board member. So thank you for that. And Geoff, thank you so much for assisting us and providing this wealth of information. That said, I am with Haven. And when you are diagnosed with a life-limiting disease, that is when I come into play to help you and your family. So let us be your haven when life becomes a challenge. So Andrea Knight, Haven Hospice.
Thank you, Andrea. Sean. Oh, there he is. Hey.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me at the North Business Council. I know I've been away for a while. Geoff, awesome presentation. Always insightful when you share what you are passionate about, which is training on leadership. So you always get the gears turning whenever we have our conversations, and you shared all that with everyone today, and apparently the past couple weeks or a couple months. So Sean Rotolo, I'm the owner of OxyFresh Carpet Cleaning. We are the world's greenest carpet cleaner. So we clean homes on average with 2 to 3 gallons of water, giving you a true deep clean and a 1-hour dry time. We service all of Northeast Florida from the border of Palm Coast all the way up to the Florida-Georgia line. And we cover Clay and Baker County as well, as far west. That's as far west as we go. Looking forward to being more involved as Geoff gets my gears turning. One of the things that I want to change about myself is getting back into the rhythm of things, how I used to be, getting more involved with the local communities. Got pulled away for a little while, but I'm getting my feet and my legs back in the water. Now I get my whole body back in there. So I'll be seeing you guys more and more. Thank you for having me again.
Awesome, Sean. Thank you. And Chris.
Chris Lottie, I'm a tax director at Patrick Rains. Tim already gave you the spiel about our firm. So all I'll say is I really appreciate the presentation, Geoff. I did my first John Maxwell book about 10 years ago, and that was 360 Degree Leader. So I really do enjoy the content. So thank you.
Of course, absolutely.
Wonderful. And I have a Saphirium. Anybody? Somebody? Okay. Mary, I'll let you introduce yourself. Mary Odell.
Yep, I'm Mary Odell from Patrick and Rains CPA also. I'm the assurance manager there. So I do all of the audits and reviews. I really appreciated the presentation. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Very, very good. And Kathy, do you want to introduce yourself or?
Sure. I'm Kathy Newman. I work for the Chamber as the Economic Development Council manager, and I'm happy to be here this morning. I did miss the last 2 presentations, Geoff, so I'm so sorry. But again, that last statement that Mr. Maxwell shared in that video that you shared with us was extremely powerful. So I feel you on that 100%. Thank you all for being here this morning. And Donna, I'll hand it back to you.
Very good. Again, thank you so very much for attending today's Northwest Council meeting. We're truly honored and very excited to have you here, and look forward to actually seeing every one of you in person on the 26th. So we will be sending out more details through the chamber. So please, mark your calendar and watch that. And after that, Geoff, again, thank you. And I will say toodles for now. Let everybody get back to work. So thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.